Good afternoon and namaste. How are you? Hope all is well and I welcome you to Parentune Live. Do you remember your school's days, the time when you used to go to school? Golden days, right? You and I went to school, attended classes, met our friends there, right? Had friendships, had a recess, most importantly, had playtime. You had a PT period, I remember. And of course, you got pointed out many a times by your teachers, during the class that why are you talking to each other, stand up in the class, things like that. So you had interaction in the class. But given the pandemic, we have online classes, and these online classes are happening remotely. And the children today are attending them on screens minus all the interpersonal real life interaction. This can be really really difficult. It's not easy, and I think it takes a while for all of us who've gone to schools to understand that how it is different. It's a good thing that children have learning continuity with these online classes, because if not online class, then what? But not all is well at the same point of time, and we understand that you are facing a few challenges, you are facing a few hurdles, and you have a few concerns around online classes and how your child's health is getting affected in a few cases. Children may be missing the real interaction, the break time chat with their friends. Also, the screen fatigue may be happening for few of them. Eye health, for example, is challenged as well during these times. So, what can you do? A, how do you create interest in your child for learning, especially for these online classes? And B, how do you keep a lookout for your child's well being, especially mental well being and eye health for your child through these online classes? In today's Parentune Live, we will be getting this addressed by two of our experts today who are both joining us from Bombay. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Deepak. Dr. Deepak is joining us from Mumbai. He's a pediatric ophthalmologist and director of Eye Solutions Hospital. Welcome, Dr. Deepak.
Thanks, Nitin. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to being part of this discussion with parents, and hopefully, we'll be able to kind of allay their concerns.
Thanks again, Dr. Deepak, for joining in. I'm also joined in and really excited to introduce Kiran Teotia. Kiran has joined us from Mumbai. Kiran is a child behavior specialist and she is a counselor based out of Mumbai, Kandivali. Welcome, Kiran, to the session.
Thank you, Nitin. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Great. So, with both our experts now, I would want to continue our discussion and go on to address the worries around online classes. My name is Nitin. I am the co founder of Parentune, and I'm really excited to be hosting this live today and to address our concerns around online classes. So, my first question is to Dr. Deepak. Dr. Deepak, if you can help us understand how and when, you know, can an online class affect a child's eye health?
Okay, so that's a good question because I think I could very broadly tell our viewers what this means. So online classes is like doing near work. We are doing something near our face. What happens to all of us when we look at a screen, whether it's a phone, whether it's an iPad, or whether it's a computer, is we tend to kind of stare at the computer. We tend to stare at the screen. What I mean by staring is our blink rate drastically reduces. So your child could be on a class learning some art or craft, or he could be in an important meeting where he's answering some questions, and therefore he's so engrossed and he's so worried to miss something that they will actually not blink. And this blinking, this reduced blinking leads to dryness. So finally what happens is, let's say 15-minute 20-minute later, they have blinked such few times in that period that they suddenly feel a burning in their eyes. they suddenly feel like suddenly their eyes are full of water. They feel like closing their eyes for a bit to feel a little bit of relief. So one of the things that computers cause is dryness. Dryness usually starts very soon after we start using computers the way we have started because of this pandemic. All right. The other thing is it can cause a lot of fatigue and eye strain. That is to some extent related to dryness, but it is also related to the fact that we are looking at something near for so long. We are not relaxing our eyes to look at something far away. All right. Which is why, when later in the discussion, I can tell you some things that you can do to actually relax the eyes. There are other long-term effects of using computers for a long time. These long-term effects you could mainly talk about for children under 12 years of age. All right. The dryness actually is more prevalent in older children. But under 12, what happens with prolonged computer usage is they can get a minus numbered glasses. They can develop an eye number. And this eye number is called myopia, right? So when we look at something near for very long, we develop a minus numbered glasses. For children who already have minus numbered glasses, this number can actually jump. I think these would be the three most important short as well as long-term effects of using a lot of computer.
Thanks for sharing those, Dr. Deepak. I think these are also the present day challenges, which children have, because most of these online classes for children between 5 to, let's say, 9 year to even 12-year old can be anywhere between a couple of hours to even 4 hours. And for children who are more than 12 years, these are classes which are going on for more than 5 hours also in a single day. So I mean, these points which you made about, especially from my point of view, I've understood near work can lead to fatigue, which can lead to dryness in the eye, which is not necessarily good for eye health. And like you said, there are chances of increasing myopia cases in children because of this near work, especially when done for a prolonged period. So thanks a lot, Dr. Deepak, for that learning for all the parents today. Kiran, my next question is to you, and this is slightly tricky, but this is something which we are seeing right now. Tell me, does online class, or is there any aspect of online class which can affect a child's mental health?
Okay. Of course, one aspect of online classes that we are already aware about is the screen time, the increased screen time, and all the cognitive, emotional, and social challenges that it brings for being, and of course, physiological as well, for being sedentary in nature. But specifically, if we talk about online classes vis-a-vis the traditional way, it increases the frustration of the child. What I have noticed a lot of times is that all the technological glitches which happens, sometimes the teacher just drops off, sometimes the child is not so aware, they have a high level of exam anxiety, and of course parents are not always available at the time, and teachers can just do this much being behind the 2D screen. So children report increased number of anxiety during those evaluative times, as well as a lot of times children are not so comfortable with the video on mode, and when they feel pressurized that I have to keep it on. So there are certain elements which are technological in nature, which add on to the extra mental stress which the child would not have been facing in a traditional setup when the child would have been physically in the school. Yeah.
Thanks, Kiran. So, what you're saying essentially is that while the child may have learning difficulties on the screen, over a period of time, those can lead to also complexities which are not really helping the child's learning, but can cause mental health related issues. What is this about the blue light, in terms of the screen? And I would want to go to Dr. Deepak and Kiran, to you as well. This element of blue light and what's the impact of blue light on child's mental health as well as sleep. Is there any impact on and coming to you, Dr. Deepak, first, what's the impact of blue light on a child's eye health?
Yeah. So this is probably one of the most common questions that we have been asked. One of the reasons we were probably asked this question is because a lot of money has been spent on marketing these blue light lenses. All right. So obviously everyone has heard about them. Basically, from a physiological perspective, blue light reduces a level of a hormone in the blood. That hormone is melatonin. This hormone helps us sleep better. So if you have low melatonin, you probably don't sleep very well, and if you have normal or near normal levels, you would probably sleep well. So one logic of wearing blue light blocking glasses is that they will not reduce the melatonin levels, and you will sleep well. The other is they reduce eye strain. Now, yes, I know our children are doing online classes, but I don't think they are sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours or 9 hours a day. They are sitting on a computer ranging from 2 to 5 or 2 to 6 hours a day. Wearing blue light glasses are not going to harm your eyes in any way. But I don't see them as a magic pair of glasses that are going to solve every eye problem that computers can cause. Um, Regarding sleeping, I definitely do not think they would help our children sleep better, because our children have a problem of getting online before, getting on their iPad or on their phone before sleeping, and they're on it for like ever. So we when we are seeing patients, and I ask them, oh, so okay, so do you sleep early? Then like, yeah, they say that we are sleeping early, we're sleeping by 10:30, 11. So that is early for our children, which according to me is a big issue. So they think that, so what has happened is that to sleep early, you don't need blue light blocking glasses. You need to actually have some discipline. The whole house has to be catered around the child sleeping early. You need to get into bed like 45 minutes before sleeping. So blue light blocking glasses, there's no harm, but I just don't see them offering some significant benefit either.
Thanks, Dr. Deepak. I think this entire myth of blue light glasses is also picked up in a big
Yeah.
way. Thanks for
Yeah.
questioning that. And it's like you said, it does affect sleep. Now that brings me to you, Kiran. When a child's sleep is getting affected, say for example, because of these prolonged uh, online screen time, do you think, first of all, is that a possibility that a child's sleep may be getting hampered because of that? And can that have an impact on a child's mental health, especially when they are going through these classes for 5 hours, 6 hours in a day? Do you think that may be impacting their mental health? And is that something which should be worrisome for parents today?
Definitely. There are two aspects in this question, Nitin. One is about specifically about the long number of hours that the children are on the screen during the daytime. And the second is if they are on the screen very close to their sleep. So, like what Dr. Deepak also shared, that melatonin gets suppressed and it gets delayed. So, if the child is, and there are children who are actually 14 years, 15 years, who are not sleeping throughout the night. They are saying that, okay, fine, I'm doing my assignments, I'm doing group studies, I'm doing some recreation. So they are awake throughout the night. They attend the classes at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and then they say, okay, fine, I'll go to sleep at 12 o'clock and I'll be sleeping in the daytime and compensate for it. So definitely it is bound to affect overall physiological, let's leave it, but if it's going to affect the cognitive skills of the child as well, it's going to affect the attention and focus of the child. It is going to affect the emotional control of the child, because you imagine how much of energy is required when you have to handle, self-regulate yourself, you have to self-control the surge of emotions that you get in your throughout the day. So that is what the child may seem to be more snappy. The child may actually say that I'm getting, I'm feeling very bored more often. There would be a loss of energy, and it's going to affect in all the aspects of the child, not just in academics. So definitely, a good sleep is important, and as what Dr. Deepak also said, an hour before, if there is a overall family discipline to cut down on the screen time and do something else at the time which is more relaxing in nature, that is strongly advisable. There's one more thing which I would like to add. There are few cases which has come to me where the child gets to be on the screen immediately after getting up.
Right, right. Thanks, Kiran, for bringing that aspect out in terms of screen time and how it affects sleep, and in turn, once the sleep is affected, it can also affect the mental health of a child. In case you've just joined us on this Parentune Live, I am with two of our experts today who are addressing some key concerns about online classes and how you can apply their tips. These are very practical, handy tips to improve interest levels in these online classes for your child. So I am with Kiran Teotia and Dr. Deepak today, who are addressing all these issues, and Dr. Deepak is especially addressing the vision related, eye health related issues for all of us today. If you have any questions, this is the time to ask. While I have a lot of questions coming in already, please feel free to ask your question in the comment section. Remember, we are taking questions first from the Parentune app and the site, and then we'll try and also cover questions from the social handle. Right? Stay on this live once you ask the question, and we'll definitely come back to you with the answer in some time. So that brings me to the first question, and this is from Kranti. And Kiran, I would like to come to you first with this question. Kranti has a 5-year-old, and she sees that her child is not sitting at one place. So he's moving around. He's a little fidgety, during the class, and she's not able to see her child writing anything through the class, even when the teacher is prompting to do so. Her son is not writing anything, and she's saying that what it leads to further is that she ends up almost like teaching her child again after the class because the child is not attentive. How can she address this, and how can she deal with this?
Right. Um Kranti, a few things which we have to understand here is um, the onus of academics, fortunately or unfortunately, has shifted a bit on the parents during this lockdown period. However, that doesn't really mean that you should really be taking as much pressure as as is generally put on the academics, on the teachers. So I would suggest go a little easy on the writing part of the child. Try to have a bigger screen for the child instead of on the phone. I'm not so sure what is a mode that is being used right now. For young children, the bigger the screen, it is better. So if it's a laptop, or even if you put it on the TV, it is always better. Now, the second thing is try to avoid having a web based or a device between the classes. A lot of times I notice what the parents do is that suppose one class is going on and there is about half an hour's break between the classes. For young children, the transition is very difficult. Firstly, you are into your active mode of learning, and suddenly you are in your passive recreation. Suddenly you are back into the active mode. So try to avoid any screen based recreation in between the classes. Thirdly, because you have the luxury to be one to one with the child, instead of go beyond the bookish way of writing on the book, try to make it more interactive. Maybe the child can write on the floor. The child can actually make the abcds or cat and all, if you have the plate and you have the floor, and the child can do it on the clay. So go beyond the traditional way, and rest assured that once the child is back in the traditional board, he or she is bound to learn back the writing between the lines and all. So just differentiate between what is in your hands and what you definitely should leave in the child's hand. So early in the life, if you make the learning a very difficult process and a very tedious process and putting all the onus on please write, I think it will take away the fun part of it. So that's what you should focus on. Yeah. And at the end of the day, please don't forget that there are countries where there is very less stress on writing till the child is 7 years old. So please keep the fun element on.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kiran. Thanks a lot for sharing that. Dr. Deepak, I have a related question which has come in with that. When parents see that their child's eye is really impacted, one of those things they've mentioned is headache. But by then, they've also realized that when they've met the doctor, it's led to an eye power. So by then, the situation had already sort of worsened. Now, are there any early signs for a parent to know when a child's eye health is getting impaired or is getting affected because of these online classes? And what are those signs? Dr. Deepak, you are.
By
Go ahead.
by I have, you mean I number here, right? That's what I'm assuming, Nathan?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So usually when people wear glasses, there are two types of numbers. Okay. For the sake of this discussion, let's keep it at two types of numbers. The first is when a child cannot see for far, and they have a minus number, and the second is when they have a plus number. Okay. Most of the people we see around us are wearing a minus number. It's called myopia, wherein they can't see for far. So because of our current lifestyle, unfortunately, we are spending a lot of time indoors, or kids are a lot on screens and gadgets, and they're always looking at near. So even if they have a number, there is no way for us to know because they can actually see the screen very clearly, right? They can read everything, they can do their online classes, answer the teacher's questions, whatever. So we will never really know that they have a problem. Nowadays we are even watching movies on the phone and the iPad, so it's not like you need to look at a TV which is at a further distance. But parents should keep an eye. So if, for example, whenever they watch TV, are they moving a little closer to the TV to see it clearly? Or when they were standing at a window and you're just having a look, can they see things far away? Can they see things like minute things which a parent may notice but a child can't? The other thing is that children do to see things far clearly is they squeeze their eyes a little bit. All right, so I'll just remove my glasses for everybody to see. So this is how I would normally see something. But if I want to see, if a child who has a minus number and who's not wearing glasses and wants to see clearly, he will do this to see clearly. Okay, so a lot of children come in, and when we ask parents, are they doing this? Quite a few of them say, yes, the child has been doing that. It's just that they did not know that they were doing that to see clearly. Okay, I think these would be the things that the parents could pick up at home. But yeah, I think getting a routine eye checkup at least once a year is also a very, very simple way to just make sure nothing's wrong.
Right. Thanks, Dr. Deepak. Gigi Naresh has asked this question, and this question has multiple questions. So let me first begin with the first part, which says that her 7 to 12 years old, she has two children in between in that age bracket, both her children. At first, when the online classes started, her children were both interested because it was this new way of learning. There was newness. Day by day, they are now getting bored. They are losing interest because it seems to her, from whatever they are telling her, that they are just listening in the class. So for them, it is just listening in the class, right? And she can see that they are ignoring the classes now in their behavior or in their interaction through the classes. How can she motivate and engage her child and both the children for online classes? So, Kiran, coming to you first, what can she do to encourage her children to attend these classes with the same interest which was there earlier?
Right. Okay, so Nitin, first thing is that we should take the child who is 7 years old separately and the child who is 12 years old separately. They belong to two different developmental stage of life. Now, coming to 7 years old, you definitely have to help the child right from the timings of the classes, right from what is being taught there. You'll have to handhold the child. And in case if there are days when the child doesn't want to attend the classes, I would suggest please do not give incentives, extra mobile time. Don't give materialistic kind of incentives to the child at this point of time. Focus more on the learning part. So even if the child says, no, I don't want to be in the class, you should be okay at this point of time, because you have to understand, I interact a lot of with teachers as well. Now, what happens in a traditional setup? When the child is a little is out of place in the class, the teacher goes close to the child, puts a hand on the child, or asks the child to come in the front of the seat, or would ask the child to maybe come on the board, do the sum, get up, answer something. So these are all the techniques which they don't have right now to actively interact. So what both your children are saying is the fact that in a way, no matter how much the teacher tries to make it interactive, please turn on your videos, please answer, it is what it is, a two-dimensional mode of teaching. And the way our education system was designed so far, and the way they had to lap up the lockdown, it wasn't ready. So let's take it from that point of view. So if there are some recordings available for your 7 years old, maybe later on you and your child can see the recordings together. Or if you know that what is the course or what is the syllabi which has been taught for today, you can ask the child to study himself or herself and just come to you with whatever is being taught. So that is my suggestion for your younger child. Let the child do it on their own, in their own self-driven mode, even if the child doesn't want to, because that's the final aim. Learning is the final aim. Now, how the child does, the mode can differ in today's time. And don't worry, if
Right.
your concern is that what if the the schools open up, will my child be open to get back to the old way of getting educated? Don't worry about that. All the kids that I talk about, they are raring to go back to the school, because school,
Yeah,
please
I don't think
understand.
so. Yeah, Kiran, I don't think so. That's the worry. Her worry is that, both her children initially had interest and now they have lost interest. So I think that gets answered in what you were, explaining in terms of not focusing on what is their mode of learning, but essentially trying various modes of learning. Maybe there's a lot of monotony which can be broken here, and like you gave examples, right? So I think that's great. A related question to that, again to you, Kiran, which has come up from Srabani. And Srabani has asked that her children are rude when she asks them to leave the gadgets. And this is the recreational time which they are using between classes. And this is what you were pointing to earlier, right? So, how can she go about addressing this, especially when her children get cranky when she asks them to leave the gadget? So, what can she do? If not incentive, then what?
Nitin, now this question actually would go beyond the online classes, but I think it's important to handle it. That how do we wean the child away from the gadgets? Now, I know of the cases where the child actually blackmails the parents, saying that, okay, if you don't give it to me, I'm not going to attend the classes. So, keeping the focus on the online classes, I would first like the parents to completely disassociate the attending of the online classes from the recreation. So, if your child says that if you're not allowing me to watch my Chota Bheem, I will not attend my mathematics classes, let the child face that as a natural consequences, right? So please do not get into that. And of course, when the child gets cranky, the only thing which is required for a parent is to accept that yes, no's are difficult for a child as it is for an adult. So if you have said a no, please do not add on to the emotional distress of the child by introducing your loss of love, by introducing sarcasm or anything else. The child has right to feel bad, right? He or she did not get what they wanted. So just be calm with it. Let the child go through the process of grief, so to speak, and be calm. Provide support to the child. Let the other routine be the same. Like if it is lunchtime, it's a dinner time, it's a play time. Let the child get the anchor and latch onto it. One thing which I want parents to truly understand, what is in your hands and what you have to leave in the hands of the child, right? Simple example. When this newborn baby is born, okay, what is in the child, in the mother's hand, is to offer the nipple, But what is in the child's hand is to latch it on, right? You give few hours. Okay, try again. Give 1 day, give 2 day, give 3 days. So trust your child is bound to get back to the routine. Offer your love, offer your support. But please do not get into the blackmails here. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kiran, for that. Dr. Deepak, one aspect of this has been about eye yoga. And we've been hearing this term around eye yoga that if you do eye yoga, then you don't need to be really worried about the prolonged screen time. It will get taken care of, or you can your vision doesn't get suffered if you're doing eye yoga. Now, is this really true? Because if this was the case, then I should not be wearing my specs. I should be doing eye yoga, and so should you be, right? And being an
Exactly.
ophthalmologist, if that's happening, so if this is not true, then please do break this, quash this myth right now, because there are these viral stories coming up about eye yoga. Is this true? Does it help in reducing power of for a child, or can it avoid the power or a glass for a child?
Okay, so great question and great myth to break. We, as ophthalmologists, actually enjoy breaking this myth. But unfortunately, it is a myth. We do not believe, science does not believe that eye yoga can get rid of glasses or can prevent you from getting glasses. Okay. What can prevent you from getting glasses is probably looking far away, taking breaks, not doing too much of screen time, stuff that we some of which we have already discussed. Eye yoga is very popular, uh, and the reason for that is a parent's desire for their children to not have glasses. Personally, as a parent, I don't understand that desire. I mean, of course, we want our children to be perfect, but I don't even see glasses as a problem. Maybe I have glasses, so I don't see them as a problem. But if we have glasses which are, let's say, within normal range, so which has a number which is not too high, then I don't see that as a problem at all. But unfortunately, some parents do, which is fine. That's acceptable. But in their quest for their children to not have glasses, they actually try these kind of institutions or groups of people that will do these eye yoga exercises. Uh, what I currently tell all our patients who wish to try eye yoga is two things: that I do not think that eye yoga is going to harm your eye. The second thing is to not remove the glasses. So sometimes some eye yoga centers actually tell parents that your child has to remove the glasses if he wants to do eye yoga. That is not acceptable to us because that can actually risk the child losing vision permanently. This is for children below 7 or 8 years of age. And the third is to not put anything in the eyes. No Ayurvedic concoction or milk or I mean, India is a country where we can. The problem is I don't want to even trash it completely because I don't know enough about it. I just know that science doesn't yet show them to have some significant benefit. All right. I have not seen one child who's come back from eye yoga with his glasses gone. Okay. They come back to us without glasses, saying that now we have been told that the glasses have gone. Can you please check? And when we check, we find the same number that the child had when he came to us the last time after doing X number of eye yoga sessions. Okay. So I've never seen somebody. And in fact, today morning in our one WhatsApp group from Shankar Netralaya, where we studied all the pediatric ophthalmologists, we was talking about this. There are scientific papers proving eye yoga is not effective. So yeah, that's the story about eye yoga.
So there you go. I mean, eye yoga, and thanks for sharing your perspective, Dr. Deepak. Because sometimes these things can just pick up, and sometimes because we want quick solutions or things which, like you said, which may not have a clear benefit, but at the risk of not losing anything, you start believing everything and anything. And like you said, It's all right to do it, there's no downside of it, but to believe that it would reduce power or it would take the eyeglasses off from your child is not a reasonable expectation. I think
Yeah.
that's a myth, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. for that. Soumya has asked that her child who's 5 year old, she's least interested in online classes, so she's already reached a stage wherein she is not interested, and she says that because of this she is not attending any of the classes with complete presence, so she is completely distracted in all the online classes. What can I do in this situation? And please help. So, Kiran, would you have any tips to say, for example, for Soumya to talk to her 5 year old and make it interesting for her, or by talking to her teacher to make it interesting for her to attend these online classes and again evoke her interest into these classes?
Right. Okay, so Soumya, first thing is that if you have the anxiety that yes, my child is not attending the classes, or maybe out of 4 classes, the child attended only 3 classes. So if you're taking the onus on yourself, your anxiety is definitely going to affect the child. Anything which is stressful for the parent, it's certainly going to affect the child as well. So firstly, you have to address your anxiety. What your daughter 5 year old is facing is a very natural thing. Young children are more sensory driven. They like to touch the things, they like to feel the things, they like to see the 3D effect of it, they like to move around the teacher, they like to be participative, being taken the name and all. So if there are some classes where the child is not showing interest, as I said before as well, try to have a bigger screen. You can talk to the teachers in at the back end to take your child's name a little more often. However, again, it will put the pressure on the teachers who already have 40 kids to take care of. But however, these are the little things where the teacher is taking name of the child more. And whatever activities are given, maybe you can involve your child in terms of taking the photographs of it, sending it to the teacher with the emoticons and all. So primarily you are making it more activity oriented as compared to just listening to it. And you can also try sitting with the child while your child is attending the classes, and in between probably commenting on what's going on. However, again, all said, I would still suggest that let it go at the speed of the child. If your child is not interested, let the books be taken care of when you are sitting with your child in a one-to-one basis and in a fun basis. That's more advisable. If your child is completely given up on, maybe give it a break of 1 week's time. Maybe the child, it's just a monotony which is set in, and try to increase your connection in other areas. Try to give more attention to the child. Maybe she is looking for attention in other areas. You have to see what's actually going on. It could be beyond academics. In fact, Nitin, there are cases where the child already had certain school related challenges in physical mode as well, and they got highlighted in the online mode because previously there was a structure which was pulling the child. Now the structure is broken, so those challenges were actually getting highlighted. So the problem was always there. So we have to kind of be aware about this. But just first bring your stress level down. Maybe give it a break for 1 week's time. Maybe just enjoy reading those 1+1 with your child at your own speed. When you are in your kitchen, just do those 1+1. Maybe that could give your child some breather here.
Right, right. Thanks, Kiran, for that. And Soumya, I hope this advice really helps you. Please do keep us posted how it goes for you. Miti has asked the next question, Dr. Deepak, and this is for you. And this is something which I also wanted to ask you. Does reading too affects the eyesight? Because you said, near work can cause fatigue. And I'm assuming that reading a book is also near work, like you said. And what are the precautions, she's asked, what are the precautions she should be taking while her child is reading? So, Dr. Deepak, over to you.
Yeah, so this is a good question because yes, reading, Miti, is a near activity. And what studies have shown is that the more near work you do, the higher the chance you'll develop a minus numbered glasses or myopia. Okay. Why this is being discussed more and more in the past few years? Pandemic has, of course, exaggerated the whole discussion. But why this is being discussed more and more is not really because of reading; it's because of gadgets. So what has happened now is that any time you have, any free time we have, not only children, frankly, adults are the same. We get on a gadget. and therefore we are looking at near all the time. In theory, you're right. Reading, or your indication was right, that reading can increase the number. But what I believe is that reading is one of the best habits you can have in your life as an individual. The smartest people on earth are avid readers. And I don't think that uh, we should be talking about curbing reading for our children for fear of them getting glasses. We should be talking about curbing the time that they spend on gadgets when they are faffing around, when they are watching a video or playing a game or whatever. And I'm not even saying to stop it completely. It's not like we are in a military school or something. I'm just saying to control it. So what we are advising parents is to actually discuss with their child and reach a time limit. So 1 hour, let's say 1 hour a day, and then that 1 hour you divide into three quotas of 20 minutes each, and you set expectations and you say, okay, your first 20 minutes starts now, 20 minutes is over, do something else, go read a book or something. I also think that reading a book doesn't cause as much fatigue as using a gadget. Okay. And in fact, what I think is a great habit to have is, I think this also helps the child to sleep a little earlier, is to get them interested in some book somehow. So one trick is to actually just tell them to read for 5 minutes, even if they don't feel like reading. And then what happens is every day, if they read for 5 minutes, there's a possibility that, reading picks up. But just before sleeping, if they get into bed like half an hour, 45 minutes earlier, and they read a book, it also calms them down mentally. There's a chance that they will sleep on time. They have done their reading quota for the day, which is great for the mind and soul. So in short, Maiti, I don't think worry about reading. You're lucky if your child reads a lot, and just focus on the gadget work. That's what I would say. Thanks.
Fantastic, fantastic, Dr. Deepak. I think it's great how you've given some really handy tips on inculcating time for reading, and rather than reading in one long, ongoing, prolonged time period, you can break it down to multiple such time periods. And like you said, reading is much better than the screen because it's not emitting that blue light at you either. So it can't be as harmful as the screen. So it's a better option. So if one was to trade between the screen and book, I think it's an easy one. You've made it very easy for all of us to pick. The next question is from Lakshmi. And Kiran, I'm coming to you with Lakshmi's question. She says that I have two children, a 4-year-old and a girl of 3-year-old. So the son is 4-year-old, and her daughter is 3-year-old. She says that while both her children are doing their homework or studying, they tend to disturb each other, and that is causing a lot of grief to her, especially giving her a lot of trouble during these times, during the pandemic time. So what can she do to keep them focused on their own learning, whether one is writing or doing homework, rather than disturbing each other?
Okay, Lakshmi, that will fall under the sibling interconnection. Now, I think it is important. The beauty about having sibling is that it gives the children an amazing practice, a platform, a microcosm world to practice interpersonal skills, which help them a lot in the outside world. Now, here, what as a parent that you can do is verbalize what's going on. Okay, for example, if your 3-year-old child is sitting on the left side and your 4-year-old child is sitting on the right side, and your younger one picked up the eraser of the older one. So what's an amazing thing out here is if you go close to the children and you say, all right, you focus on the child who got affected, that okay, your eraser the child comes to you and complains about it or is crying or something. So you first put that child to the rest. And then of course you talk to the child that what exactly happened. Okay, you wanted an eraser. Because young children, Lakshmi, you have to understand, are not very good at verbalizing what they need. They're more physical in nature. They'll just go and pick up whatever they need, right? So when, as a parent, you are supporting the child, you are verbalizing it, you are modeling how the interconnection can better happen if you speak before you are using your physical aspect of it. That is a great background setting for the children to develop amazing interpersonal skills. So you go to the child, you say, okay, you wanted the eraser, okay, so how do you go about it? Either you take it, but you know what is happening, you ask your older child what's happening. Oh, she took it without asking. Okay, then this kind of thing, if you do, that also helps them with problem solving. If next time I need something, I can ask my sibling. A lot of times, Lakshmi, we take it for granted that a little bit of pushing, a little bit of hitting are all acceptable. It's just happening between siblings. They're going to grow out of it. I think if we just push a little bit to the children that hitting is not allowed, keep your hands in your pockets if you're too angry, it pushes them to think of better ways to express themselves. When they know that these things, high level structure, these things are not allowed. So they have to think of more and more. Of course, the onus also comes on you. How are you expressing yourself when you are also in your angry mode? Are you just kind of, oh, you're doing that? So it's your modeling as well. But yes, if you are helping them early on to do their problem solving, that will help them a lot in the long street. Yeah. Nitin, you are not audible.
Thanks, Kiran, for giving us that detailed understanding. So, Dr. Deepak, I had this backstage chat with you, wherein, we were talking about, are you seeing an increase in cases of, children, coming up with myopia, or you're seeing that more and more children are now going and moving on to classes. Is there any change which you have noticed of late, especially during the pandemic, which you've seen? And if so, is this like happening for real? And if that is an increase, then what can parents do today?
Yeah, yeah, great question, because this is important. I mean, so as I mentioned earlier, studies have shown that the more near work you do, the higher the chance you develop myopia. But being in a private practice like we are, it's not like we're seeing 100, 200 patients a day. So we spend a lot of time with patients, so we are not really getting a indication of what a trend is, right? But in the last 5 months, we are convinced that we have seen many, many children whose numbers have jumped. We have seen many children who have got glasses for the first time. And we are quite sure that it is because of the online classes. It's just because of a significant jump in usage of computers. This is very important for parents to know. And the reason it is important is once they know that this can happen, then we can take a few steps to do our best in not letting that happen, right? One of the steps, simple steps, is to try and take a break every half an hour, right? So if every half an hour we kind of get our children away from the computer, and older kids, we can talk to them and ask them to look very far away out of the window for a minute or 30 seconds, even that much is fine. For younger kids, they may not really look far away, but even if they just get up from the chair away from the computer, I think that's fine. The other thing is to, the older kids, we need to talk to about them blinking their eyes. Okay, for the younger kids, they may forget or they may not understand. And one way to enable younger kids to blink more frequently is when parents are sitting next to them. If we actually talk to the child, they will look at you. I mean, they will look away from the computer. And the minute they look away from the computer, they are going to blink. Okay. And probably, and the last thing, but extremely important last point, is the amount of outdoor activity that your children have. And what studies have shown is that the lesser the outdoor activity, the more the chance of developing a minus number. So they should spend at least 1 hour a day outdoors. It not only helps them with decreasing the chance of getting a number, but Kiran will confirm that outdoor activity has multiple benefits for our children, and I think that is something that parents should seriously start. I mean, making sure that the children are doing if they aren't doing so already.
Right. Thanks, Dr. Deepak. And in fact, Akansha had asked that question as well. She was just asking. So, Akansha, there you go. Outdoor, like Dr. Deepak said, looking at far distance for 30 seconds and then blinking frequently. I think these three are what you can try with your children. Keep us posted. And great question. Thanks for asking this question. The next question is from Shikha, and coming to you with this question, Kiran. She has two children, and both are daughters. So, what both of them do is one, whenever their work gets over, whatever they are studying, the one who gets free first goes for the gadget, and then there's almost like a race. So whenever the class gets over, the child, the elder or the younger one goes for the screen, and this is causing fight, arguments, and a lot of grief for the parent, for Shika. So what would you advise Shika? How can she handle this situation? 8-year-old and 12-year-old.
Right. Shikha, first thing is that as a parent, sometimes we think that it is our responsibility that we have to keep the child in a highly stimulated manner in a back to back mode, right? What this means is that, okay, the child is done with the classes. Now the child is free. She'll come to me and she will say, Mama, okay, I'm free now. I'm getting bored. Please give me the gadget, right? I think it is important that even if you are giving gadgets to the children from a recreation point of view, if some kind of routine is put in out there, there are a couple of advantages of it. First thing is that if the child knows that my timing's 4 to 5, right, or 4 to 4:30, whatever is the time which fits into the family system, the child does not have that anxiety, right? Like what you notice out here, that okay, I've done my work before my sister, so let me go and rush it, and the other person is going to rue that, oh no, I lost my chance, right? So if we can kind of put some fixed timings out there, so firstly, they will not be in this competition. I think we can leave the competition to the school and have less competitive who finishes the milk first or who comes on the table first kind of thing at home. And secondly, when it brings a consistency in the routine, then the child looks beyond the gadgets to stimulate himself or herself. Even if the child is just lying on the couch after the online classes and just looking at the fan, that's a very good time. Children also need to feel bored with all the information that they are getting from all different sources. They need to categorize them in their brain, and this is the downtime when it happens. So you need to give that platform to the child where the child is just lying, and even if the child comes to you and says, Mama, I'm getting bored, all that is need is, okay, you want to come and sit with me, whatever you're doing at the time, and just talk with your child. It is not necessary that if the child is in a pediatric clinic waiting outside, it is your responsibility to entertain the child and flick out the mobile. It is not necessary that when you're waiting in a queue, you just give the mobile to the child. And of course, the discipline is yours as well. If you're also one of those parents who is just taking out, mobile or gadgets is like a sponge. The water is there, you take the sponge and it all absorbs everything. Similarly, all your time gets absorbed in there. So you really want children really need to grow cognitively, socially, behaviorally, emotionally. And they only do it through a cause and effect, interactive manner. You need to give that platform to the children. Even if your siblings are fighting with each other, it's an amazing thing. They are learning, right? So, okay, so if specific things, if I have to say, just give some specific time to the children, 4 o'clock for one child, 5 o'clock for another child, or rather better, because your children are a little older, you give them this problem. Okay, that guys, looks like there's a lot of challenges happening here in terms of you figuring it out. So please fix one timing for each one of you. As a parent, especially when your child is growing, you don't have to take the onus of taking all the decisions. Leave it to them and let them come back to you. So you create, you ask questions, let them find the solutions. At the end of the day, you really want that your child is able to take decisions, right, in an independent manner. This is the foundation for it. Okay, so that's my suggestion to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kiran. So, in case you just joined this Parentune Live, I would like to just remind you that I'm joined with Kiran and Dr. Deepak, and they're helping us address questions on how do you create interest in online classes for your child. At the same point of time, how do you take care of your child's mental health and eye health through these online classes? Because pandemic is not yet over. We are, going to be in remote learning scenario for children. They are not going back to school anytime soon. So, in case you have questions, please do ask us now. We are in the last 5 to 7 minutes of our live. Would be happy to cluster a few questions if you guys have. Although there are a lot of questions coming in already, so stay tuned. Keep asking your question. And Lakshmi, thanks for that acknowledgement. Lakshmi says thank you to you, Dr. Deepak. Miti also says thank you to you. More than welcome, Miti, Lakshmi, from both Kiran and Deepak. Coming to the next question, which is a follow-up question from Miti. And Dr. Deepak, this is for you. She says that sometime due to frequent and long duration of looking at the screen, her children are developing these red spots or red lines in the eyes, and she is getting worried about that. What can she do to avoid this? And is there any home remedy which she should do, or she should do something else? What's your advice, Dr. Deepak?
This happens is actually because of dryness. So we tend to blink very less when we're looking at a screen, and this constant reduced blinking can lead to dryness, which actually makes the blood vessels a little more prominent. And then we start seeing these red lines everywhere. These are actually normal blood vessels. And one thing you can do, which I mentioned earlier, was to take breaks, right? So you take a break every half an hour for a few minutes. You consciously make sure your child is blinking a little. We can make sure that our children are well hydrated. Good quality of sleep is important, because sleep is one time when there's a lot of healing that happens in the body, both mentally and physically. And of course, there are eye drops available that you can use. Now, these eye drops are nothing but lubricants. They are basically eye drops that will coat the front surface of the eye and thus prevent the dryness or prevent the symptoms of dryness. Usually, if you do all the other things that I mentioned earlier, children are able to manage. They don't really need the eye drops. But if you have to use the eye drops, there is no harm either. They're quite harmless. Their job is of coating the surface of the eye. They don't really go inside the eye or anything. And you must have heard a few common names: Refresh Tears or Max Moist or Sustain. These are over-the-counter medications, and there are maybe more than 100 brands that your local pharmacy may have. So as a starting point, you could just do all of these things. As I said, children can get away without putting the drops.
Right. Thanks, Dr. Deepak. Coming to both of you, I have a few questions which I'm clustering because questions are still coming while we're not left with much time. So, Dr. Deepak, what would be your top three advice for parents to ensure their child's health, especially child's eye health, during these online classes? Three pieces of advice you would give.
Okay, so the first is every half an hour to take a break. In that break, try to look as far as you can. For older children, younger children, take a break and just, but don't keep looking at the computer. Don't look at the videos during the break. The second is to reduce the time that they spend on the gadgets when they're not online school. Okay, and the way to do it is to make a plan of 1-2 hours a day, and then stick to that. And the third is to keep blinking your eyes, which will reduce eye fatigue and eye strain. So three things.
Great. I have another three to ask. Please, during these times of pandemics, please break three myths, which have picked up during pandemic times about eye health. And one of my favorites is this eye yoga. So can you break these three myths, about eye health during pandemic?
Correct. So the first is you mentioned is eye yoga. Eye yoga, we don't really see or think that they will get rid of your glasses or prevent you from getting glasses. The second myth is that blue light blocking glasses are going to get rid of all the eye problems that your child may have because of using computers. And the third myth is that screen. So it's not a very strong myth, but it's still a myth that both the TV and the iPad are the same. We think that the TV is a little better than the iPad, okay? Because when the child looks at the TV, the child is looking far away. We want the child to stop looking at near. We want the child to look far away. And therefore, if when children are entertaining themselves by looking at these gadgets, parents would suggest to them to cast that content onto the television.
Right, right. Thank you, Dr. Deepak. Kiran, again, clustering a few questions, and this is something which has come up in the questions which came up today also. What are the top three signs you would say that a parent can observe and know that their child is losing interest in the online class? Three signs.
Okay. Actually, Nitin, it is very difficult to kind of say that if the child's overall loss of interest is going to get restricted to academic classes alone, and the child is going to be very excited for rest of the other things. It's difficult to categorize it in that sense. However, if you notice that the friction is increasing and it has been like 7-8 days, about a week's time, it's not like 1 day or 2 day. So it's kind of increasing, where the child is increasingly missing out the classes, or is submitting the assignments, but they are all blank, because all these cases have come to me where the child is submitting the assignments, but it is all blank. The child is claiming that the child is attending the classes. However, the child at that time is actually playing with the games at the time. So these are the things where you have to kind of sit down and talk to the child at your level, or else seek out for help at the time. And overall, if the child is losing interest, it will be shown in all the other aspects of the child. If the child is not having enough sleep, if the child is not eating properly, and if, like what Dr. Deepak also shared, that if the child, an element of outdoor activities is equally important. So outdoor activities, if you involve the child in cooking a bit, if you involve the child, if you take care of the sleep aspect of the child, timely sleep, 1 hour before there are no gadgets, these are the things which are going to help the child to overall have interest in different activities throughout the day. We have to remember, even if a player is a badminton player, you would notice that they have the whole sorts of army who takes care of their sleep, their eat, their core muscle development. They are doing biceps also. They are putting on weight or taking the weights also. They are not just hitting smashes. So it's an overall, throughout the day, what the child is doing, that has to be taken care of. Yeah.
Thanks, Kiran. And my next question to you is, what are the key two not to do's? If you were to give two not to do's for parents when their child is visibly losing interest in attending online classes, what should they not do?
Most important is, please do not challenge the child in terms of, okay, if you're not attending the classes, I'm going to give some kind of threats, right? So I will remove your name from the school, or I will, make you feel bad in front of your friends, or tell the teacher, complain it, and all those things. Please not threat the child because the child is not attending the classes. Look at the bigger picture. What do you wish to achieve through the academics of your child, and give the child options how to achieve it. That is the first thing. Second thing is, please do not get into any kind of physical pull push. I've seen parents who kind of physically pull the laptops away from the child, or give corporal punishments. They are not going to help. They are a very wrong modeling. They are very wrong setting to the child, that if you're angry, this is allowed. So please avoid that. Reach out for help if it has reached to that level.
Great. Thanks, Kiran, for those two not to do's. Sometimes, not to do's are equally or perhaps more important than what needs to be done given that heated argument or that heated, situation which a parent is in. So, thank you again, Dr. Deepak, Kiran, for answering all our questions today on Parentune Live. And thank you, most importantly, for these handy and practical tips. At no point of time you've gone saying that what is ideal. You have talked about what can be done given the situation, and that we really appreciate. All the parents on Parentune are always looking for practical tips in spite of their hurdles and challenges. I think in light of that, these were very helpful, answers. And thanks for your patience today on the live. In case you've just joined us now, let me first tell you, you've missed the live. Okay. And the second thing is that in case you've missed the live, it's all right because you will find the Parentune live recorded on Parentune app. So go ahead, and watch the recorded live of today's topic, which is about how do you create interest in your child for online classes. More importantly, how do you ensure your child's well-being, both in terms of mental well-being and eye health for your child through these online classes. If you found this Parenthood Live helpful, go ahead and share this with fellow parents in your network. And we'll be back again tomorrow with Parentune Live, same time, with our pediatrician who will help you protect your baby from cold and cough and sickness during the season change, which we are witnessing across India right now. I would also like to remind you that in case you have the Parentune app, you have our expert support 24 by 7 with you, so you can ask your questions anytime. Remember to subscribe to our social handles so that you get alerts and reminders for Parentune Lives like this one today. Before we go on, Dr. Deepak, Kiran, thank you again for doing the Parenthood Live today with us, answering all the questions with so much of patience. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you, Nitin. It's an amazing platform you're giving to the parents. I'm sure they're making the best out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deepak, again. And I'll see you guys soon. We'll be back again tomorrow the same time. Please take care of yourself and your families. Remember, family is everything. See you soon.